Okay, Vancouver Canucks fans, I want to be very clear here. This video exists because I'm responding to an article, not because I'm going out there and exclaiming that this is going to happen or that it's guaranteed. There you go, that's the disclaimer. With that in mind, let's go over to the Edmonton Oilers and talk about a guy that they had recently acquired from the Vancouver Canucks that may or may not have some significant untapped potential. Let's go out there and read this piece published by Mark Spector from 3 days ago on September 19th, 2024. The title reads this, that the Oilers are hoping to reap the unfulfilled potential of Vasili Podkolzin. Now, here's the thing. Before we dive into any of the comments, before we dive into what Podkolzin has to say, I wanted to say this about Pods first and foremost. There is a really, really talented player that exists in the frame of Vasili Podkolzin's mind. It exists. He can totally be a game changer. It's why he was projected as a potential top 3 pick in the 2019 draft at some point. But the problem with Vasili Podkolzin is he's got all these tools, he's got all of these things that make him effective. He can shoot a puck, he can rip it on goal, he can snipe it, he works extremely hard, he's got maybe not the fastest skating in the world, but he definitely has the effort. He's always going, he's never stopping, he's almost like a wrecking ball on skates at times. Podkolzin has a really strong, undying nature to go out there and forecheck. The problem is, though, in his NHL career so far, Podkolzin has proved to be a little bit too tentative and a little bit too hesitant to fully capitalize on what it is he has to offer to an NHL team. Might I remind you, in the 2019 draft season, Podkolzin was seen as a top 3 guy right after, I think it was like Broberg and Jack Hughes at the time. Like, Capo Caco wasn't even that highly ranked back in that time frame. But after the Hlinka Gretzky Cup in 2018, Vasili Podkolzin was a top 2019 ranked guy because he dominated that tournament. He scored beautiful snipes. He had one-timers and snipes where he locked and loaded up top into the corners, and he was a wrecking ball. He was in all situations, no nonsense, just score and put the puck in the back of the net kind of guy. But as his career went on, that tenacity and that aggression really started to hone in only on his forechecking and nowhere near his offensive capabilities. Now, Podkolzin did have a 28-point season in 44 games with the Abbotsford Canucks this previous year, but only 2 points in 19 NHL games, a far cry from the 26 points he had had in 79 NHL games with the Canucks in 21-22. Podkolzin kind of fell off, and with the Canucks being in a spot where they really didn't have enough room to guarantee him an opportunity, it made sense to trade him, which is why he got sent over to Edmonton. It's why the return was so cheap. The Canucks traded away a 10th overall guy for a 4th round pick. Talk about asset management there. It's not great, but at the end of the day, this 4th round pick and the cap space helps Vancouver more than Vasili Podkolzin probably would have in the upcoming season. With this in mind, let's go out there and read the Mark Spector article talking about Podkolzin. Guess what? The minor leagues are filled with really nice young men, and he never ever, Podkolzin that is, wants to be one of those minor leaguers again. It's tough to say, but sometimes you need to be in the minors to get to the next level, he said on Thursday, leaning up against a dressing room wall at Rogers Place and chatting at length with a pair of Edmonton scribes. When you're down there and you're watching your NHL team, you're just thinking, yeah, one day I'll be there, and then I'll never go back to the minors. Never say never, but that's my goal, for sure. This is where Podkolzin talks about some of the motivation he's got. He's got his daughter, Alisa, which is absolutely heartwarming to hear about. This is where you go into the scouting report part of the article, and Mark Spector goes out there and says pretty much the same thing that most Canucks fans have been saying for the past few years. Podkolzin has all the tools, but he's still working on the toolbox, somehow lacking in confidence despite an excellent frame, 6'1", 190 pounds, first-round skill, and an easy smile that makes you quietly hope he finds success. The knock on Podkolzin? When things didn't go his way for the Canucks, he fell into overthinking his game. "Just play," they told him in Vancouver. "Don't think, just react," they said at AHL Abbotsford. "Everybody tells me that," he admits. "Everybody has his way. I'm just going on mine." His goal in Edmonton, as he remarks, like old friend and roommate Klim Kostin on Phase 2 of his NHL journey, is to be more confident, play more with the puck, do not be scared to make a mistake, to have mistakes, it will happen, it's how we react to it. You know what, I actually like that title. Vasili Podkolzin reveals what went wrong in the Vancouver Canucks organization. Honestly, he got to put it the best way he could have. He was a little bit too tentative, he was a little bit too scared. He would dump the puck in way too early, he would make passes he didn't need to make, he was afraid to hold on to the puck, it was like a hot potato. It's like one of those kids that's just learning how to play hockey and he doesn't know how to puck handle properly, so he just kind of tosses it away every time he gets it. Vasili Podkolzin has that skill, but the confidence was severely lacking in the last year and a half or so. So the goal of being able to play with the puck more and not being scared of making mistakes certainly is a good one. We know that Rick Tocchet was particularly harsh on Russian players who would end up making mistakes with the puck. Vasili Podkolzin was the, let's just say, second most effective guy by that kind of circumstance. Andrei Kuzmenko was number one. But heading into Edmonton, hopefully Podkolzin is able to tighten things down and force himself to hold on to things a little bit more and make better choices by allowing the play to come to him. As for Edmonton, he has a built-in bond with the city. The city is special for me. I was here during the Gretzky-Hlinka tournament, I was here for the World Junior Games, but at the same time, it was my first NHL game here, so it was great to have a fresh start here. The article then goes over into Podkolzin's talk about playing against the Oilers, crazy fans, strong team, etc., etc. This is the final comment here before the article finishes up. One thing you've got to respect is that Podkolzin has never played the Russian card, threatening to return to his KHL roots in St. Petersburg. He's been locked in on becoming an NHL player through good times and bad. When I first signed my NHL contract, I just talked to myself and said, whatever happens out there, I'll be working to get to being a regular NHL player. Honestly, when I was sent down to Abbotsford in some rough times, I was thinking about it, but I would never say I'm going back to Russia. I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to give up here. I've thought about it, but when you try this NHL taste and you've played in the minors, it was good for me. He's paid some dues. Now, the Oilers want some dividends. If Vasili Podkolzin can go back to his, let's say, 15-goal, 15-assist ways like he was nearly on pace for in his first NHL season, if he's able to do that, then the Oilers would have an absolute steal of a guy in their bottom six that they acquired for a 4th-round pick. If he's able to just lock in and allow everything to work itself out mentally. That, I think, is the biggest hurdle, but it's one that Vancouver and Patrik Allvin just could not really afford to gamble on. We already said they had too many forwards, Vasili Podkolzin's role with the team was not guaranteed in the slightest, so it was more of a necessity to move on from him and just get anything in return, free up the cap space, and let him try to prosper elsewhere. So with this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Vasili Podkolzin and whatever untapped potential might be in his game for the Edmonton Oilers in 2024-2025. What are your thoughts on him speaking out and what went wrong in the Vancouver Canucks organization, him citing his confidence issues and lack of commitment to driving the play himself? I'm going to say it's a wildly accurate answer, but if there's anything else Canucks fans or Oilers fans would want to add to the conversation, then hey, feel free to do so. The comment section is your floor. If it wasn't Vasili Podkolzin, who else do you think would have a chance at breaking onto the Oilers' forward core in a bottom 6 role? I think, based off of some of the practice lines, Podkolzin was playing with like Corey Perry and stuff, which actually does sound like a nightmare kind of line to play against. Imagine going up against that Podkolzin forecheck, and then once you finally break the puck out, or once you get hemmed into the zone, you've got Corey Perry breathing down your neck, trying to give you a big old cross-check to the back. Like, I don't know, it kind of sounds like hell. But honestly, thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this. 9, and bye.